what is just inevitable decay? What is pain and decay? Like, we all die. Like, we will play a game, we can't win to the other. And so if we know the answer to all of this is you're going to die, then what do we do with the rest of that time? All your stuff is just stuff. It's just going to go to the money's going to go. Like, everything, your looks is going to go. Everything's going to go. Love's going to end. Then what do we do?
I gotta take a piss.
And I think it's another connection. But what I'm doing for a living is helping, and I don't look at it as what I'm doing is helping people beat the crap out of each other. I look at it as I'm trying to help a client build their post-divorce life. To sort of rise from the ashes of that which has fallen apart and move on to the next chapter and refocus and have the things they need financially, emotionally, whatever it might be, personal interest with their kids. And so for me, it's actually a job that is very consistent with my desire to build connection and to be in the
dog. No one fucking cares.
No, because again,
I gotta take such a piss.
56% of marriages end in divorce, but 84% are remarried within 5 years. Like, we keep doing it over and over again.
That's a good thing.
I think it is a good thing.
The mess of it, the absurdity of it, the hypocrisy of it, that's something beautiful about that.
Well, it's just the return is so great on the investment, Like, listen, man, I've had more than one dog. Like, when my dog died, the first dog I had died, I remember when I'm never going to love again. I'm done. I'm done with this. I will never expose myself to this kind of pain again. I'll never have to take this dog bed and buzz it. And then someone called me and said, we have an adoption, let's watch the dog for 24 hours. And then we'll get to the yeah, all right, I'll watch the dog for the night. The dog comes and they say, oh, he has mange. He's not going to... in my heart, like, yeah, I got a dog. And now that's 13 years old. His eyes are cloudy. And he doesn't go up the stairs real well. And he's going to break my heart. And I wouldn't change that.
So they're struggling for the second one. I have a lot of heart there.
And you'll never lose that pain. But I promise you, your heart has an infinite capacity for the that dog. You never feel as they replace the whole. Like, there will never be another Buster.
This is the worst.
Like,
I gotta take such a piss,
you
kids.
know what? Like, and when he's
what in the fuck shit?
But you know what? Like, when that stupid puppy that was 5 months old.
Oh man, I gotta wait.
Stumbled in. I went. I guess I'm gonna do. And you know what? I'm so glad.
So bad.
And I know. I said, like, song.
I got a piss. I get spray all over.
But you know what?
Like a fucking lemonade stand. Bitches are gonna call me, hey, lemonade stand. What's up, man?
And you go, I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it again. But it must be of value. It must be a real
different that pain. So there's that. The show.
You shut the fuck up.
Louis.
I gotta take it so bad. Athleticism. I gotta take
that.
The unbelievably low. Man, I hate shit.
Well, the opposite of this is no. I mean, and there's a little thought that only I believe that.
Man, I
what I
gotta look at this.
think we should avoid the impermanence. It's the thing.
Hey,
So that
oh man, I gotta take a dump.
Dogs are a great example. And again, I don't know what.
Oh man, my butt, my perineum. I can feel my perineum.
That's
my thing.
And I
yeah.
It's amazing.
This is a legit perineum.
So amazing. Doesn't
oh my god. Oh my. I gotta take a piss so badly.
So much
but I sort of also have to take a shit.
The nature of connection.
George,
fuck that your heart.
This is the worst.
Like when you're, I'm telling you when.
Oh man, I bet this thing didn't fucking record. Oh hey, you wanted it to record?
With certainty.
Fuck this shit. What is this bullshit?
I'll never love a dog the way I love this dog, and it's just not true. It's just not true.
Yo, dog.
Like you have this infinite capacity, and it's that big scary.
What the fuck happened?
Like right now, so many
Yo, dog.
people you could love. There's so many dogs you could love.
Dog.
There's so much out there.
Quit with the shit.
And it
just
requires
fucking
a
work.
certain bravery and
Just win, baby. That's good. Oh, dude, that shit sucks. I told you it was gonna happen.
Because I think the real experience of these, you just dive in. There is.
That is the worst shit I have ever
You have to
seen.
like really dive into the full complexity, the full
craziest.
Hey, everybody.
Crazy.
Yeah. So craziest.
It was just going like this. We call this candy cane.
So
You don't
from
even know
a
what candy cane is.
chaos standpoint, I mean, I see so many.
You don't know what fucking candy cane is.
So many.
I'm gonna have a candy cane. I'm gonna stick it inside. You know, and just pump it.
Nanny, people sleeping with
really
someone, a relative of their spouse. People having
just stick candy canes with bitches, like big ones. Yeah, like get it in there and then just
so much craziness that you can film 15 films.
Sounds great, kid. Calm down, woman.
You know, I mean, emotionally complex as any custody case is emotionally.
I'm in a candy cane, bitches.
Because you're dealing with parenting issues.
Oh
what
my
makes a good
god.
parent, I think, is a very tricky question.
I'm gonna get that. Oh, I gotta piss.
I'm trying to convince.
But I sort of have to shit.
Who's a better parent? And that is so.
Don't believe me, just watch.
Subjective.
Don't believe me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch. Hey,
just the maternal presumption is that.
Wait a minute. Fill my cup. Put some liquor in it. Sign the check.
Well, there was.
I mean,
it was real. It was
something.
The law. There was something in the law called the maternal presumption. It was also known as the
Island.
Which meant that a child under the age of 7 was presumed
got chucks on, going stay mom.
Unless you could show she was an unfit
so pretty. So hot.
So that's where the idea of like
hot damn, girls. Call the police and the fireman. It's so hot. Hot damn. Make a Dragon Ball when they retire. Man, like Dragon Ball Z? Dragon Balls. I used to just call that shit Dragon Balls. Why? Why not? It's called Dragon Balls. It was Dragon Ball Z. Dog.
Who births a child and feeds a child with her body doesn't have a particular bond with a child that's different than a father's bond with a child.
Dog.
So
it literally, I've read it. I can read English. It says Dragon Balls.
Now that there's better and more research in the mental health field about attachment theory and infants,
Sports.
There's also a lot
of that fucking mom and her daughter with the glasses upside down from Virginia Tech.
Sports. How should parenting schedules be put together
based
on
attachment theory? Sports.
But you know, there's conflicting perspectives.
And so it's judge to judge. You see, like, is there a lot of variation?
Yeah, there is, because there's lots of kinds of judges. Like there's judges that are thoughtful, enlightened, interested.
This is the worst stream I've ever seen.
That just want
There's never been anything worse than this ever. Just the worst. Worst shit in the history of everything.
They have a lunch break from 12 until 2 o'clock, and then 4:30. Hey.
Oh God.
What is in general the process of these custody battles? Like what's the landscape here?
Well, the overwhelming majority of custody cases.
Hey, Rabbi, why do you stick your pinky in the air? So it was like a prick.
They are a negotiation between two people that love their children more than they dislike their soon-to-be ex.
Look at this athleticism.
So
this is unprecedented athleticism, folks.
Are just two people going, okay, how are we going to make decisions together? Because there are decisions that have to be made about kids. Will they go to public and private schools? Can they go on medication if they need it or not? Should we change pediatricians? And all those kinds of things. How do we make decisions? And when will we each spend time with the kids? And so most custody cases are just that. Most custody cases are just a discussion, a negotiation between counsel about those issues. And they're not ugly, and they're not anything. They're just people. Again, sometimes people have different perspectives, you know. But sometimes people haven't thought through their perspective. So as a divorce lawyer, a lot of what I'm doing is counseling a person. Because they come in and say, well, I've been the person who handles, you know, all of the homework and all of the everything, so he should only see the kids on weekends. And there's a logic to that. Like, I've always done the homework with the kids, so I'm the parent who's in charge of the homework. And he's obviously not done that before. But there's also a logic logic that you can then say, right, but then you're doing all the heavy lifting of parenting, and he's doing none of that. And you were a married couple and living together, so he was trusting you to do that because you're good at it and you seem to like it. So maybe now we want him to have to do some of the heavy lifting of parenting. Because we don't want the child when they're 13 to say, I love dad. We have nothing but a good time together, whereas you make me do my homework and eat my broccoli. That's the grass on the other side of the fence that's greener. So sometimes it's about educating a client to like change their frame, to look at this differently. Yeah, okay, we always go to my mother's for Thanksgiving, so I need every Thanksgiving. Well, you were married. So you went to, now you're going to have new traditions. Things are changing for your children. Things are changing for your family. You're both going to have new traditions. So a lot of times it's just educating people on looking at things in a different way, looking at their parenting in a different way. We're not going to live in the same house anymore, but we're still going to parent these child or these children together. What's much more interesting, because I don't get invited to a lot of parties, but when I get invited to parties, if somebody says, "What do you do for a living?" And I say, "I'm a divorce lawyer." And they go, "Oh my God, you must have stories." That's the way everybody's saying. "Oh my God, you must have so many stories." And if I said, "Yeah, there was this couple, and they, slowly grew apart, and then they decided that it would be good for them to end their relationship as a married couple, but they wanted to continue to have an amicable co-parenting relationship, so they divided their assets and they figured out a good parenting access schedule that made sure that they both had both leisure time and responsibilities with the children." People would be like, "That's the worst fucking story out. That's so boring." Yeah. So what they really want is and then he was sleeping with the nanny, and then she caught him. So the truth is, people want to hear about those flameouts. And by the way, those are super interesting as a lawyer. It's super interesting.
It's usually going to be, what, infidelity? You do have a chapter called Everybody Fucks the Nanny.
Everybody's fucking the nanny. It's a nanny fascination in here. I try to explain it in the book. But yeah, I've had some great nanny stories. People run off with the nanny. People end up getting married to the nanny. I had one where he convinced her that they should have a threesome with the nanny. They got the nanny drunk. They had a bunch of threesomes with the nanny, and then the nanny and the wife paired up and left him.
Oh, nice.
And they're still quite happy.
Seems like a happy ending for that.
For everyone but him. But it was his idea.
Well, he's really going to have a nanny fascination now.
Now he's got to see the nanny, who's now the step-parent to the kids. And it was his bright idea of let's have a threesome with the nanny. The nanny thing I think is a function of, in many circumstances, is the characteristics of the wife that he remembers fondly and that have been extinguished by the presence of children. So my words of wisdom is not don't get a nanny or make sure you get an ugly nanny. My thought on it is that a woman should remember, even when she's a mother, that she's also a woman who a man, they fell in love with each other, and she should take time to be in touch with the part of herself that is an independent woman that's interesting.
All the ladies who are independent, throw your hands up.
There's a lot to be learned from divorced couples because, divorced couples, if you do it right, it's awesome. I had a wonderful experience parenting and being divorced because I divorced when my kids were quite young. My co-parent, my ex-wife, is awesome. She's a great mom, nice person, we're good friends. And it was great. I had half the time I had my kids and I could focus on them. And the other half of the time they were with the other person who loves them as much as I do. And I didn't have any of the responsibilities of kids. And I could just have, all of the wonderful fun that you can have when you don't have, the responsibilities that come with full-time caring for children. So,
what would you say now on the flip positive side? We've been talking about the collapse of things. What about success? What's the secret to a successful romantic relationship?
my mom used to say that it's hard to define intelligence, but you could spot stupid a mile away. So I'm much better at pointing out where people fall apart because I spend a lot of time with people who have fallen apart in their relationship. So it's easy to then say, well, just don't do what they do. But I don't know that that's not an oversimplification. So again, I think the answer is connection. I think the answer is um, affection, presence, mindfulness and presence. I do think in my personal and professional experience that most people want you fully more than they just want you in a disconnected way. So if you were to say to your romantic partner,
George R. Martin, finish your fucking books, dog.
Where I'm giving you my undivided attention.
AI, you can finish that
and
bitch
I'm
in
really
afternoon.
joyful to be with you. Or you can have me for 8 hours where I'm sort of half paying attention and I kind of want to be someplace else for part of the time.
Fuck
There's
yeah,
just
you're
no
good
choice
looking,
there.
lady.
It's so obvious. So
beautiful. You're beautiful.
I think presence is a big piece.
Good on you. Somebody
and
tell
I
this
think
bitch she's
that,
beautiful.
I think the
gorgeous.
you,
Okay.
the me, and the we, I think is important. Because I think in relationships, there's you and there's me, and we meet, and something magical happens, and we become we. And now there's you, and there's me, there's we, and then the we gets bigger, bigger, bigger. And isn't it great? It's such a nice warm place. It gets so big, but it gets so big that you get small, and me gets small, and we. And if any of us dares to ask, well, what about you? What about me? No, the we. What, you don't like the we? You don't want to be with the we? Like, well, it's not that. But the we only exists because there was you and there was me. And I really liked you and you really liked me. And so we picked each other out of lots of choices. And now this we is so fucking big. Like it threatens to just consume all of it. And I really think that there's something there we have to look at more honestly.
So we should not consume everything, but at the same time, not be small.
Well, the we is the you and the me, and if you mix it so much that you and me loses its component,
Bear scares where it's at,
all
girls.
that's left is we. Like I don't think that that's the way to do it. I just think the world pulls us in that direction. Like we get told culturally that, well, why aren't you going with this person to that? Why would you do that by yourself? And why? Why? Like anyone knows that there's joy in being away from each other, and there's joy being reunited together. So why don't we, speak very honestly about that? It's very, and I think some of that's our own insecurity. Well, why don't you want to be with me 24 hours a day? Aren't I wonderful? Aren't I delightful? Well, then what?
Well, but also probably people are either afraid or lazy in developing their individual selves. I mean, it's lonely going out there in the world by yourself. And it's comforting in that little cocoon of we.
I mean, it can also be incredibly adventurous going out into the world by yourself and then coming back to the we with a full report.
Yeah.
Coming back and saying like, yeah, guess what I saw? Guess what I did? I'm like, we have to go there together now because all I could think about was you. Yeah. While I was there, I was like, oh my gosh, she would love this.
Yeah.
Like that's magical. That's amazing. Like look what I brought you back. I went and did this, and I got you this present from there. Like there's something, and we know this. I always thought it was, like when you watch the old westerns, and like the hero's leaving, and he's walking away from the cabin. He's gonna go fight the gunfight, and she runs up and she goes, "Please don't go, stay here with me." And he like kisses her, and then he goes. If he goes like, "Yeah, you're right, I'll just stay here. It's cool." Like this is I didn't want to deal with that anyway. Like he's not the hero anymore then.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some truth to that. And probably, like you mentioned, sex. Probably a big part of it. Friendship. That seems to me like a really important one.
Depends on how you define friends. Like if being a friend means we have some connection to each other and we have each other's cell phone numbers, okay, then we're friends. But if it's a bigger definition than that, if it's like you picked me up at the airport, or like you're someone I could call. It's like, dude, I gotta hide a body. Like you get shovel and line.
I like that you escalated from airport pickup.
Yeah, well,
to murder.
Yeah, I try to go
You're
two directions. Well, I have to tell you, I define Affleck movie, The Town. That scene.
I love LBDs.
That's friendship.
How about just LBDs?
I mean, to me, the ideal male friendship is the scene where he says, "I need you to come with me. We're going to hurt some people, and you never have to ask me about it again." Oh, yeah. And he says, "Whose car are we taking?" And that's sort of like, to me, that's friendship. So it's a high bar, to be like a friend. So when you say like friendship, I think that's the kind of friendship you should ideally have with your romantic partner. If you're getting married, it should be the like, whose car are we taking? Like it should be that it's you and me.
To be fair, that bar is reached with me with a lot of people. Like if you call me tomorrow, there's a body.
But you're a big open heart.
But it's true. Like I wonder how many people out there are like that in terms of hiding the body.
I mean, my theory on this is I think I'm like you in that way. I think I'm very sensitive. I feel things really deeply, you know. And I think the world is terrifying when we feel things very deeply because there's so much pain, there's so much betrayal, there's so many opportunities to be hurt. And I think when you are that kind of person, you go through like stages, and one of them is that I don't care, I don't feel anything. It doesn't matter, I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything. And you try to convince yourself, I don't feel anything. It's fine. I don't feel anything. And then at some point, like you do feel all of it, and then it's like, oh my god, the weight of this is. I mean, I think it's the whole arc of Pink Floyd The Wall. It's literally the entire arc of Pink Floyd The Wall. And the song Stop. I want to go home, take off this uniform, and leave the show. Like when you feel all of it, the army of hammers coming at you, the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, 1,000 natural shocks the flesh is heir to. When you feel all of that deeply, it's very hard. But it can also be a superpower because I think when you can bring that to a relationship, when you can bring that to a confession, like you've done and I've done, then there's something very magical about that. The ability to bring it out in someone, to feel it in yourself, to understand it, is a gift. It's a wonderful, wonderful gift. I'm humbled by what it brought me professionally. And I'd like to think that you and I have both found professions that enable us to use that sensitivity, that empathy, in a productive and good way, and in a fulfilling, a personal fulfilling way. And ideally in a way that does good for other people.
You yourself are incredibly successful and high performer. You've dealt with a lot of CEOs and just high performers in all walks of life. What can you say about successful relationships with those kinds of folks?
That's a good question. I think
is it all the same stuff, or is there something special when they're busier?
Well, I think when you represent high net worth individuals, but also high performing, I would make a distinction between high net worth and high performing. So I've done high net worth divorces where the person's like a trust fund kid, even though they're an adult, but they're what they did to achieve their high net worth status is their great grandfather died. So that is different than someone who is self-made, who through discipline, focus, entrepreneurship, whatever it might be, that they have found success. And there's also a difference between financial success and fame, because I've represented famous people that actually did not have that much money, scheme of things, or much liquidity. And I've represented people that were not in any way famous and were very high performing in their field. Like in New York, we have a lot of finance people. And what I find is their divorces are challenging. One, on a technical level, because figuring out what they have and how to divide it is tricky. Sure. Yeah. Because when something's moving that quickly, like when your portfolio's movement, affects a market, that's challenging. Jeff Bezos' divorce for a time when it was in its early stages could affect Amazon stock. It did, So that's a real thing. There are businesses that are affected by the divorce.
Businesses?
But
who's this?
in terms of being in a relationship with someone who is a high performing person, most of the high performing people I know are creatures of discipline and routine. From Joe Rogan, we've talked about, any of these people, like they have a routine, they have a discipline, they have focus, they have a way they like to do things, they have a type of coffee they like to drink, they have a way that they like to do. And divorce is a tremendous disruption. I mean, divorce is fundamental things in your life are shifted out of your control. Like your spouse may be the one who has decided you are no longer going to live in that house. You will no longer see your children on these days. So to take that control away from someone is very, very hard. I mean, when someone is a high-performing, high-net-worth person, they are used to being told yes. They are used to being able to buy their way out of a problem. But just like illness, you can hire the best doctor, but you can't cure cancer because you have a lot of money. Like you can hire the best lawyer, but you can't cure a custody case. And Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt's seemingly endless custody disputes that have been going on for years now with the best lawyers in California working on them is proof of the fact that you can't just buy a resolution to those things. That you have to go through it with everyone else.
So that lets me ask the question: how much does a divorce usually cost?
It's a great question. Average divorce? It's sort of like what I always tell clients in the first consultation is I tell them the most reasonable question a person could ask me sitting in that chair across from me is two. How long is this going to take? And how much is it going to cost? And those are two questions I can't answer. And then the next thing they say is, give me a range. Which is a bit like calling your doctor and saying, I have a headache. What is it? Well, I can't tell you. I'd have to do tests. Give me a range. Okay. It's a reaction to the barometric pressure, and it'll be gone in 15 minutes. Or it's a brain aneurysm, and you'll be dead in 5 minutes. There's your range. And so it didn't really help, right? So I have the least expensive divorce I've ever seen is two people who one of whom comes into my office and says, we've written down on a yellow pad what we figured out at the kitchen table. She's going to keep the house. I'm going to keep the 401k. We have a bank account at this bank. We're going to split that 50-50. I'm going to pay her this much in child support each month. And we're going to agree from time to time on what we're going to do in terms of the schedule with the kids, but they're primarily going to live with her. Can you write this up and make it legally binding? Yes. $3,500.
Just as a side note, I have a friend who went through a divorce and handled it just masterfully by giving more than he's supposed to and having nothing but love in his heart and happiness with the kids and just like, I don't know, that to me is just an inspiration. Like, not like his whole view was like, who cares about money? Like, and also like he refused, like, with every ounce of his being, to have anything but complete love for the other person.
Yeah, I've had clients who, with a straight face, will say to me, like, well, I'm not going to quibble over a few $1,000,000. And they mean it. Because to them, it's numbers on a page. So I'll personalize this approach. So I have a friendly relationship with my ex-wife, who's the mother of my sons, who are adults. And we have maintained a very good relationship. And so now it's many years divorced later, 17, 18 years later. And we were able to sort of post-game that relationship, even our co-parenting relationship. We kind of post-game it when we chat with each other. And I remember once saying to her, hey, you never like screwed around with me when it came to the kids. Like you were always so like cool, like if I called you, like if I was having a really bad day at work, or like seeing just an ugly custody case, and like it just felt like I would call her and say like, hey, can I just pick the boys up and like take them out for ice cream or something tonight? I know that's not my night, but would you mind if I just like took them out for a couple hours? She'd be like, yeah, sure, come on by. She was always flexible. And I said to her, like, was that just goodwill? Like, you're just a good person? like, what was that about? And she's like, yeah, it was partly that, but she's like, it was partly that, like, you never screwed around with me when it came to money. Like, if the kids needed something, if I needed something as the mother of the kids, like, you were always like, yeah, sure, of course. Like, her air conditioning kicked out, and she needed to replace it. She didn't have, like, liquidity. I mean, I didn't have a lot of money at the time, a long time ago. And I was like, all right, no, because I don't want you hot and upset, and I don't want the boys, you know, to be like, of course. And so I think, yeah, when you approach a conflict with, like, it's very hard to argue with someone who won't argue with you. If the person approaches the argument from the point of view of, like, I'm not going to argue with you, like, I'm going to absorb your aggression, I'm going to just not meet it with that, I'm going to meet it with love, I'm going to meet it with positive. It doesn't always work, because sometimes people are so angry that they're relentless. But I have to tell you, like, the louder you get, the quieter I get, the more you seem irrational, you know, and that's what I always try to bring that to court proceedings. Like, I always try to bring to court. Like, if I know my adversary is coming in hard, I'll come in quiet, slow, deliberate, because I want the volume to be turned up way too high over there, and then it looks like weddings. It looks like something over there, you know. And I think that I say this to clients. They got a 4-year-old. They're getting divorced. Let's say there's going to be a wedding in like 20-something years. There's going to be a wedding, and it's either going to be the wedding where they got to put these people on opposite sides of the room, and if they pass each other by the shrimp boat, they're going to kill each other, or it's the wedding where, like, you stand there, you take some pictures, you kind of go like, yeah, we fucked up this whole marriage thing, but man, we did a good job with this kid, didn't we? You know. And the decisions you make right now, there's a straight line to that wedding. And so even if you don't like this person, even if you're mad at them, even if you're mad at yourself for the choices you made in choosing them as a co-parent, right? Like, every single Mother's Day for 27 years, I have told my now longtime ex-wife, Happy Mother's Day. I'm so glad that we had kids together. I'm so glad you're the mother of my kids, because they wouldn't be who they are if it wasn't that they were part me and part you. And I'm so grateful for you. And, you know, I'm always cheering for you. Like, how hard is that? How hard is that?
Well, it's really hard for some people, but
I don't understand why it's so hard for some people. I'll tell you, I do find that hard. There's not a lot of things that I kind of don't understand, but that's one that I kind of don't understand. Like, I put in one of the weird things I did as a divorce lawyer that caused like a little stir among my colleagues for a few years was some years ago. Like, we all steal from each other's work, divorce lawyers. Like, we're like the matrimonial mafia. Like, we all know each other. We all deal with each other over and over again. But we all have the same job, and so we're the only people that really know the unique stresses of that job. So even though we try to kill each other all day, it's like boxers, like professional fighters. Like, yeah, your job's to take each other's head off, but like nobody knows what the fooey you went through like the fooey. You know, that's why, like, I always get, like, I go like all kinds of rubbery when I see the fights that people have each other. Because I'm always like, yeah, because you know what? They relate to each other better than anybody. They suffered, they bled. You know, the competitors, they bled. You know, so I really think divorce lawyers, we have that same kind of relationship. Like, we went through this stress, you know, on opposite sides, trying to take each other apart. And I find that, you know, we all steal from each other's material when it comes to separation agreements, provisions that we use for agreements. Like, all the agreements are like these Frankenstein monsters of, oh, I like his estate planning provisions. Oh, I like her, you know, provisions related to maintaining a life insurance policy to secure the alimony award. And I wrote this paragraph, or this section, because what occurred to me is that when you have a child with someone, and let's say they're 3 or 4 or 5, they're old enough to know what Christmas is, but they're not old enough to go buy a Christmas present. But they're old enough to know that you get presents on Christmas, and you give presents on Christmas. But they're not old enough to buy one for the parent. So someone has to do that for them. So I thought, I'm going to put in a provision that says that as long as the children are so young that they can't independently purchase a Mother's Day or a birthday present for the co-parent, that you'll take the children either to buy a small gift or to make a card, something like that. This struck me as a no-brainer. Who could disagree with this? Like, it's not for the person, it's for the kid. It's so the kid, happy birthday, Mom. I don't have a present for you, I don't have a card for you because I'm fucking 5. Like, I'm 5. Like you can't go do that. So, wouldn't you want your child, not your co-parent, who cares? Maybe you want them to have the worst birthday ever. Fine, but you don't want your child to be embarrassed. And I even put in the provision. The parties acknowledge that it is the intention of this provision to ensure that the child is not embarrassed and feels, that they were able to. I cannot tell you how many people refused to sign that. How many lawyers said to me, "We're taking that out." And I went, "Wait, why?" "Well, why does my client have to buy a present for your client?" I said, "They're not buying a present for my client. They're buying a present for the child to give to my client. It could be one of those little $3 boxes of chocolates they sell at the drugstore. Like, it's a kid. They don't know. They don't know what anything is." And people, nope. And I have to tell you, of the conundrums, of the puzzles that I can't figure out in existence, that's what I can't figure. I do not understand why that's so hard.
That's basically just an illustration of their complete inability to do anything nice for the other person.
Like the level of hatred, the level of vitriol that they like. Maybe this is me.
Go baby, go baby.
If you apologize,
Go.
there's not a lot I won't forgive. Like, I'm not saying I'll forget it. I'm not saying, oh, we're totally good like it never happened. I understand that. But if someone says what I call a non-bullshit apology, right? The bullshit apology, go, "I'm sorry you got so upset when I did that." Well, that's a bullshit apology. "I'm sorry that you were offended." That's a bullshit apology. Or, "I'm sorry for what I did." Because what are we talking about? We might not be talking about the same thing. Or you might be saying, "I'm sorry that you found out about
All right,
that,
kids.
not that you did it." So
Is
a
it
real
time?
apology is, I lied to you,
I like how
and I
absolutely no one
realized that
studies with me.
hurt you, and I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have done that. I regret that I did that,
Freak
and I know
bitches.
that it hurt you, and I'm really sorry. That's a real apology, okay? So someone's willing to give you that, and you still want to walk around with, like, the level of vitriol that you will harm your child rather than do something nice for them. I don't have a solution. And I tell you, I see that all the time. Like, parental alienation is a thing. It is a thing. Like, children can be weaponized. Like, I always tell people, if you're going to get married, get married. Get a prenup ideally, but if you don't have a prenup, okay, you're just risking money. Don't worry, you're just risking money. Money and hassle, of paperwork and of time and going through an ugly financial divorce. But you have a kid with somebody, that is a missile. Like, that person has power over you for a long time, if not forever.
So a child can be used as part of a manipulation.
Oh, it's a routine.
That's
People weaponize children all the time.
Filipino
And they
people
do
are
it
so nice.
they do it with the permission of their own conscience, because they genuinely believe, I'm gonna protect this person, this child, from this person who, by the way, is a bad spouse. But that doesn't mean they were a bad father or bad
They
mother.
need to teach
You can
kids.
be
Damn, this
bad
girl.
at being a spouse.
Do you see this chick?
The skill set of a spouse and
Do
of
you
a
see
parent,
this?
it's not necessarily the same. And I've seen, people
Gasolina.
people alienate children from a parent in such subtle ways, but they're
Okay,
so powerful.
it's
And as
called
a lawyer, it
YouTube,
doesn't matter what I know, it
and
matters
it
what I can
sucks.
prove. And it's very hard to prove
fucking thing, like for the thousandth
because
fucking time.
it's usually a very subtle process. And the example I always give to people is, it's a rare kind of crazy person that will say to a 7-year-old,
He's got a fake.
"Your dad is
He's
a
got a
bad
fake.
person."
Oh, stop.
But this,
Fuck Rabbi
hello,
Hilarious. Hello, my friend.
you just said your dad's a bad person.
Fuck Rabbi
You
Rothschild.
just did it with your eyes. You did it with the expression on your face when you handed the
Fuck
phone to the kid.
Rabbi.
You told that kid your dad's a bad person. You didn't have to say it out loud.
Hilarious.
And that is something people are guilty of all the time. You know, when the kid comes home and says,
hilarious, they still know who I am.
this divorced couple, kid comes home and says, "Oh, I met mom's new boyfriend."
Oh, that is
And you
fucking
go, "Oh yeah,
hilarious.
that's
Please
nice.
tell me
Remember,
this
he's not
is...
your dad."
No,
You know, like, well, whoa, like you just told that kid a whole bunch of information about how I'm supposed to feel about this person. Whereas if you go, "Oh, that's nice.
all this
Nice
shit
guy. Oh,
sucks.
that's great. I heard nice things. Yeah, I heard he likes bicycles. That's cool. That's really neat." Like you just told this kid, okay, it's okay. You can like this person. It's okay to like this person. It's okay that your mom is with this person. Like, and again, whatever you feel about your ex, your co-parent,
He's the first
usually
person
you
I
love
ever
your
knew
kid
who
more than you hate
really
your ex.
fought with YouTube about stupid shit.
Also, I wish people would, even
He's an
without an apology,
astrophysicist.
forgive each other.
He's my astrophysicist. Really?
It
He
goes back
is.
to the earlier
I've seen that
discussion
motherfucker
we had.
from when he was
I
nothing,
forgive people.
and he
There's
got his fucking
something
PhD
in
or
them,
some shit.
especially if we shared something, but even just
He
if
was
there's
finally
something about them that's
reinstated in
beautiful,
YouTube 10 years ago.
it's great that they exist in the world. So
Yeah, he got
I'm
his
just
fucking
grateful for that. And
he
then
had
you
this
said it's
Moon
the,
Paper
the
series.
fuel of
Oh
forgiveness.
my, it
I don't know.
was
To
so
me, like
good.
forgiveness is very often.
It was
It's
amazing.
for me. You know, like when I let go of
Dude.
anger, I feel lighter.
But in all of
You know,
America.
I think my heart enjoys peace. I mean, partly it's because I fight for it.
Dude, I made this fucking happen.
I work in the world of conflict. Like I jokingly used to say to my
I
sons
made
when they
this
were teenagers,
happen.
you know, like I can
May
only
16th,
argue with you.
2011.
Like it's not fair to the paying customers. If I
made this
argue with
fucking
you
happen.
for free, that's not fair.
Oh man, that's amazing.
But I think we're talking about the incredibly wide range that a divorce can cost.
Yeah.
So
my man.
And you were saying the cheapest one
now
was
what?
the yellow.
Now what are
yeah,
we
yellow
watching,
pad,
Rabbi?
2 people, came
This
to an
is
agreement,
the
write it up,
worst.
make it legally binding, $5,000 maybe.
ESPN?
You know, tops. Usually 3,500, $5,000, that kind of vibe.
No, how about
Most expensive millions in counseling fees.
And that's because of the duration, the complexity.
Yeah, the duration, the complexity of issues. Like I have clients who've paid 2-3 million for semesters.
So it's like that's in custody or like what?
It can be complex custody that requires a hearing, that requires expert testimony, dueling mental health professionals opining on the parenting. It can be a situation where emergency circumstances occur,
really
like when an
impressive
individual
in
tries
this
to abscond to another country with the children, and you have to bring them back under the Hague Convention on international child abduction.
Oh wow.
We've done some Hague cases. There are cases where people have very different facts. Like before I came here today, a client of mine's soon-to-be ex-husband, who's just in the middle of divorce, he tested positive for cocaine on a hair follicle test, where it was said he was definitely not going to test positive, and he tested positive. So it was like we were scurrying now with, okay, we got to get a motion filed, we got to suspend access, we got to protect the kids, we got to get in front of a judge, we got to think about what are the implications of this, because he was about to transition to an unsupervised parent. Like this is the kind of stuff that can amp up the amount of work the lawyer has to do, which then translates to money. I mean, I get paid for my time, and the time of my team. I have attorneys and paralegals who work for me. So when you have a team of lawyers working on a case, you can burn tens of thousands of dollars a day if it's a big enough case. There are also very complex financial cases where people move and hide money. The high net worth space is a different world. Like if an average person owns a home, they own a home in their name or their name with their spouse. A high net worth person owns an LLC that owns that home. That LLC is owned by a trust. They are a beneficial interested party in that trust. Like this is how some of my clients who make tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars a year pay less in taxes than a cop or a firefighter. Because they have structures. And the structures that were designed for tax planning purposes, then in a divorce, become very tricky to unwind and to figure out, wait, no, what is mine and what is not.
Well, then that takes to the question of prenups. What's your view on prenups? Prenuptial agreements.
It's not popular, unfortunately. Yes. If you ain't no chump, probably want a prenup. You know what a prenup is. I mean, that's what you have to say.
Meaning, so the prenup is a good idea.
Prenup is an excellent idea. Prenup is a contract between two people that binds their respective rights and obligations in the event of a divorce when it comes to financial issues. That's all it is, and there's a lot of reasons to have them, and there really aren't any reasons not to have them other than the fact it requires an uncomfortable conversation.
So, there's a few questions here. First, do they work?
Yeah. If they are crafted correctly, which is not that hard to do for a lawyer to do. I'm saying for a lawyer to do, because with the internet, everybody thinks, why would I spend $1,000? I can just Google prenuptial agreement, I can get one, and then I think that is a bad idea. Like it is like a will. Like if you're gonna have a document that binds your rights at that level, it's worth. The most expensive prenup I've ever done was like $3,000. That's ridiculous. That's not a lot of money, right? So there's no reason you wouldn't do it, but people will still. I've had clients that have hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they did their prenup downloading something from the internet, and because of some imperfection, it doesn't have the right what's called acknowledgement, which is the section where the notary signs, and that it was duly sworn before this person on this date, and if it doesn't have that, it's invalid. So there's weird technicalities, but yeah, prenups are bonded. As long as there's been some minimal asset disclosure, which is easily done in a prenup, and as long as there's not a language deficiency, meaning the person who is reading it understands English to the level that they understand what they're signing, and if they don't, that at least they've acknowledged in their native language that there is some opportunity for this to be translated for them. Yeah, they're bonded. They're presumptively bonded. We live, thankfully, in a culture where people are allowed to enter into contracts without money.
What are some prenups that you've seen that could be effective, or what people converge towards in terms of what does an agreement look like? Because the popular conception is when there's no prenup, both sides get half.
And that's generally true, that both sides get half. Equitable distribution, which is what the law is called, the law of equitable distribution. It's not called the law of equal distribution for a reason, because it's equitable, it's not equal. Now, equitable is presumed to be equal, but there are exceptions to that presumption, and that's where lawyers can get into fun and or trouble, depending on how you view it. It's where we make our money. We make our money arguing that the fair result will not be just a 50-50 split. And so there's the very generic standard prenup, which is easy. And I call that yours, mine, and ours. Like, if it's in your name, it's yours, whether it's an asset or a liability. My name, it's mine. Joint names, we split it 50-50. Simple, clean. And you go in to the marriage now, knowing what the rules are. So if you get a bonus at work and you put it in your sole name, then it's your separate property. You go out and buy a boat, and she doesn't support you buying the boat. So suppose you got a big loan on this boat. You're responsible for that loan. So I like that because I like people having some control, and I also like people having to have discussions. Well, why are we putting that bonus just in your bank account? Why wouldn't we put it in the joint bank account? We should have that discussion while we're married, not when we're in a divorce lawyer's office 10 years later, because we should be able to talk about this kind of stuff. So, what's interesting about prenup is that somehow people think there's something that takes away from the romance of a marriage. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again, all marriages end. They end in death or divorce. So having life insurance or having a will, it doesn't mean you can't wait to die. It doesn't mean you're looking forward to death. It doesn't mean that you're predicting, your demise sometime imminently. It just means that, you're being realistic and honest. So when you marry, and I don't mean spiritually marry, having a marriage ceremony, I mean legally married. You're making changes to your rights and obligations under that. What you're doing. Like marriage, from a legal standpoint, what we mean when we say I got married is a state agency. It's been created by the state. This is a legal status that most people who are in it know nothing about. They just did the most legally significant thing they're ever going to do other than dying. And they have no idea what rights and obligations are created. And the first time they're going to get an education about it is in
It's crazy. So prenup is an opportunity to learn something about it at the start.
So first of all, whenever someone approaches me about prenup, and that's like 4 or 5 times a week, probably, depending on the season. Right before wedding season, we get a lot.
When's wedding season?
Well, it used to just be the summer. Like they say when you marry and do your bride all your life. Some loving Hammerstein music. Now the fall is very big too. People love fall content, fall weddings, pretty, pictures and things. Yeah,
good on the gram. All right. That's a hashtag.
Weddings is for the gram. I have to tell you, weddings is performative, man. The problem is, though, it's great. So here's us picking the cake. It's not here's us doing the prenup. You know how many people I've done prenups for that I've watched on their social media or them being interviewed by Andy Cohen on Bravo and saying, "Oh no, we don't have a prenup." Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Here, it's in my office. It's in a folder. Yeah. Prenups. But prenups are not published anyplace. They're not filed with a court. They're maintained by the 2 people that signed it and their lawyers. That's it. So nobody has to admit that they're agreeing. But there's a certain problem with that insofar as a lot of people have prenups, and we need to normalize prenups. Like there's no reason not to normalize prenups. There's no reason not for until some famous people say, yeah, we have a prenup. We're crazy about each other. It's why we get married. Look, we're getting, I don't want to get in a car accident, but I got a seatbelt. Like you have it. Just in case.
And what do you do if you're running a company? What does that have to do with prenup? You're running a $100 billion, $1 trillion company. Jeff Bezos. I suppose his marriage was before Amazon. But how does that work with prenup?
Well, no, actually, it's the same. I mean, what you're doing with a prenup is you're identifying how things will be classified in advance. So you're creating a set of rules, and then you both can function under those rules during marriage. So, like for a brief time, I taught a family law drafting class at a law school, and when we would do separation agreements, and we would do pleadings, it was lots of fun. When we would do prenups, I would say to the students, what's the main thing you need when you're doing a prenup? And they would say, well, you need asset disclosure. And I said, well, that's not the main thing. He said, well, you need, technical language. I said, no, the main thing you need is a crystal ball. And the main thing you need is the ability to see what's going to happen in the future. Who's going to have money, who's not, who's going to be successful, who isn't, what people will inherit. The problem is we don't have that. So what can we do? We can create functions, we can create structures, we can create systems, and then people can live with those in mind. You enter the game knowing the rules, right? So if this is going to be a submission-only event. If this is going to be no time limit. If we're after a certain number of minutes, we're going into points now, okay? So I can work with that rule set, and I'm going to amend my game based on that rule set. Same thing. You're just going to say, look, what's the rule set? Let's agree on the rule set, and then let's conduct ourselves with the rule set in mind. Let's plan the rule set in mind. And I think that, and by the way, and if you're going to cheat, you cheat with the rule set in mind. You're cheating, right? You're trying to get around the rule set. So prenups are, when I do a consult for a prenup, the first thing I do is, here's what's going to happen legally if you marry without a prenup. Here's what happens to your rights and obligations. Then, what we can change with that, there's almost no limit. You can amend anything you want to. The example I always give is there was a case that went up to the appellate court where a high net worth guy married a very beautiful woman, and there was a made-up that I discourage people from doing one I think I see most often, which is a person meets another person or rekindles across the way, and you wouldn't really talk to her, interact with her. If you did, it would just be at legitimate reasons. Some people that, you know, it was an affair that turned into 20-plus year marriages, you know. So an unhappy marriage and then a happy affair that turned into a very happy marriage. Like I've not seen, there's not a formula. You know? I can't, like, okay, I can't, like, okay, like, it's not me, do it. It's not me, do it. Something you want that I can't offer. We don't serve that at this restaurant. Something you want that I can't offer. We don't serve that at this restaurant. So, you know, it's okay. Like, I get it. I mean, there's a bit whatever, but, you know, it's a different thing. The saddest type of infidelity, in my opinion, is a mistake, which is someone just makes a mistake. It's about building a life together. You know, and where does monogamy fit into that? And people like Esther Perel, those are people who are making very intelligent discussions about that.
Yeah, that's a complicated one. Just to actually just linger on that, how often have people with open marriages?
Well, and this is one of those, like, past this person taking a second, the next person, and this whole thing. But I get one chance to sleep with this other person, the young lawyers who come work for me. I tell them to watch the Gary the Oldman. I tell them to watch the Gary the Oldman scene where he offers them the Chinese food.
Why is
Where he offers them the Chinese food.
Why is that the one that really?
I know some dangerous people. I know FBI SWAT people. I know people that they know how to do things. And they're the calmest guys I meet in my life. You stuff their sneaker, I think, oh yeah, I think quick apology. I think chill.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about
True Romance. Oh, the filming.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, well, you're saying that this idea, like, with that film underlying, there's this current of, like, they were made 10 courses, and one of them is kind of subpar, and the other 9 are the most amazing culinary experience I've ever had. How dare I say, well, that wasn't the right restaurant? What do you mean? Like, that's a great restaurant. What are you talking about? Like, of course, there's one little thing. So I think it's impossible to have someone never disappoint. It's impossible to have someone who never lets you down and doesn't say and do the exact right thing at the exact right time. And to create the idea or expectation in your mind that your partner should never let you down, never disappoint you, never not know what to say. Which I think is crazy. I mean, I find for myself, when someone, for example, loses a family member, a pet, I often say the same thing to the person. I'll either talk to them or send them a text or call them, and I'll say, I wish I knew the perfect thing to say, if I would say it. Like, but I know there isn't. Like, I know that, you know, I don't say that part. Like, I know there isn't. Like, there isn't a perfect thing to say. Like, but if there was a perfect thing to say, I would say it. Like, love to me is not that you never let this person down, it's that you never want to let this person down. You know, love is a verb. You know, like, it's this feeling of I never want to disappoint you. I will disappoint you, but I never want to disappoint you. I will hurt you, but I never want to hurt you. When I hurt you, it will be my insecurity, my stupidity, my humanity that causes me to hurt you, but I will never intentionally hurt you. You know, I will betray your trust. I'll never intentionally betray your trust. Like, I will, by my stupidity, say the wrong thing or loose lips say something to someone that you didn't want me to, but it won't be intentional. I will always try to be on your team. That feels to me like a realistic thing.
Yeah, the intention leads the way. But there's some aspect of, like, you know, just like the 10 course meal, that over time there's a kind of a convergence towards perfection. And along the way, there's the rose-colored glasses where you see everything, beauty and everything. So it feels, it's probably destructive to really internalize the idea of soulmate, because then any imperfections can make you doubt, can make you step away, can make you lose the connection. But it just feels like, I don't know, is there some wisdom you have?
It's very, I've seen some crazy stuff. I have, even on my phone, there is a disconnect between the two people. Like so, if if there's a, I think it's Annie Hall. It's one of the Woody Allen films where Diane Keaton and Woody Allen are both talking. Diane Keaton and Woody Allen are both talking to their respective therapists about the relationship. But it's like most 50-year-old men. I gotta. Like, what do you compare it to? So I think fighting. There are some people that I think they enjoy fighting. Like they enjoy people that I think they enjoy fighting. Like they enjoy arguing. I know people that enjoy political debate. I don't particularly enjoy. I know people that enjoy political debate. I don't particularly enjoy political debate. I argue against them on lectures, but the rest of the time I see. And I remember, I think this has been true in every relationship I've been in. I think this has been true in every relationship I've been in since I was a lawyer, including my wife. It was always like if I had on jeans, including my wife. It was always like if I had on jeans and I wasn't shaven, it was like the jeans, like. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like I'm like, really? Like, whereas the suit, they wouldn't even know. Like I'm like, really? Like, whereas the suit, they wouldn't even know. Yeah. The best jujitsu teacher that I think I've had is Paul Schreiner. The best jujitsu teacher that I think I've had is Paul Schreiner. And doesn't just teach you techniques. He's teaching you ways of thinking about what I'm going to do and what is that about? And I would go, well, if I didn't file it, why wouldn't I? And the answer is like they just didn't think to file it. Or like they were too lazy to draft it, or they went on vacation last week. And I'm, driving myself crazy, going, there's absolutely there must be. So I think you have to look honestly, and I think you have to look honestly, and don't attribute to the other side your constitution. If I said that, he's saying it's. Do you think? Well, represent someone who's accused of child sexual abuse. I've had about a dozen. Of those cases where I've represented someone who's alleged to have perpetrated sexual abuse of a child. You are guilty until proven innocent. And let me tell you, as a lawyer, that is the toughest cases, because you put sex and kids together and everyone loses their goddamn mind immediately. There's a rush to judgment. There's a disregard for early on. And I just kept saying, she's like, well, we're going to do this. We're going to do this to be fair, done properly. Like, we always treat dandruff with decapitation in this culture, and I don't understand it. And that's what I like about the law. The law, there's rules, and that's what I like about the law. The law, there's rules, there's rules about procedure. And so that's our job, is to bring out the truth. Still, there's case, because they lied about some dumb shit, some dumb little thing. And I say to them, why did you lie about that? Like, I had a case where a person was accused of child sexual abuse. And on cross-examination, they were asked, did you have an affair with this babysitter? They're like, no. And listen, some of the things we do, it's difficult to simultaneously prevent and prepare